What is up, everybody? Welcome back. It's not a standard video or historic video, it's a set review. Yep, you guys asked for it, so we're definitely here to provide you guys value. So thank you very much for letting me know. Happy to do this for you guys. This will be cool. That way this can, get the gears turning for the brews. Once the set hits, we'll be able to, hit the ground running because we already have the brews on our mind. And I'd probably be doing this by myself anyway, really. Just finding cool decks to make for you guys. But this will be mainly a constructed focused, well, not mainly, entirely constructed focused. This is going to be a no nonsense set review. So anything that's draft chaff, I'm going to be like, nah, not playable in standard, or draft chaff, skip over it. Because, limited's not my forte, and I'm more concerned with constructed right now. I mean, I'm going to be playing some limited, but you guys don't care about that. So yes, we're going to be doing constructed, standard, and historic. I might throw in a quip about modern or something, but I'm super not up to date with that or legacy or anything like that. So standard and historic. So if you guys are ready, let's get into it with the first cards in white. We got Adherent of Hope, 1 in white for a 2/1 human soldier. At the beginning of comment on your turn, if you control Basri Planeswalker, put a counter on it. Good for a budget deck, I guess, but then you have to have Basri. So, no thanks. Alpine Watchdog, 2-mana, 2/2, Vigilance Dog. A+ card, because it's dog, draft chaff. Angelic Ascension, 1 in a white for an instant. Exile target creature or planeswalker. Its controller creates a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. This card, man. It's been a long time thinking about this card, and I'm still not even sure. So people are saying, oh man, it'll be so cool to get rid of problematic planeswalkers. But then you're just helping them protect their other planeswalkers. Like, if I heard people saying, oh, you can use this on a Teferi. But Teferi will half the time come down, already get its value, draw them a card. It'll be like a 2-for-1 at that point because you're turning their Teferi into an angel. They already drew a card. It's rough. I would honestly see this more being played in the deck that has the Teferi, because you can just bounce the token, which is super easy. Like, they play a creature, I was going to say at the end of turn 2, but there's not a lot of 2/2s you want to make into a 4/4 before killing with the Teferi. But yeah, because then this is just more flexible, being able to hit planeswalkers and creatures for 2 mana. That's pretty sick. Like Historic Esper or something that has Papa Teferi. You can just play him plus untap 2 lands, they attack in, you make it a 4/4, then next turn you bounce it or tuck it with Big Teferi or Little Teferi. Brazen Borrower, after doing this, I mean, you're still kind of making 2-for-1s for yourself, but just the flexibility of it, I think, is insane. Where you can either kill their Nissa or take out an Uro. I mean, that'd be kind of sad because they're already drawing a card off Uro. And that's the thing that kind of, you're already kind of 2-for-1ing yourself in a climate where all the cards that are played are at least 2-for-1s. So it becomes like a 3-for-1 at that point. So that's where I'm hesitant. Turning your own creatures into a 4/4, I think, can have a place that'd be interesting to think about. I don't know, because how good is it? You play a 1/1 on turn 1, turn 2 you make it into a 4/4, you untap on turn 3 with a 4/4 flyer. Like, that's pretty cool, but that's 2 cards and some tempo loss quite a bit there. You might as well just put like an enchantment on it, right? So I don't know. I am intrigued by its flexibility. And I feel like if I were to play it, I would only see myself playing it in a deck with Brazen Borrowers and Teferis. And then just use it for its versatility. That's my first impression. But the art's super cool, and I really like this. Is probably the closest we're going to get to Path to Exile in Standard. So that makes me sad. But what are you going to do? Oh, I miss the days when the answer cards in Standard were powerful. Anyway, Anointed Chorister. 1 white for a 1/1 human cleric, lifelink. You can pay, pump it, no thanks. Draft, 3 in double white, 4/3 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, gain 2 life for each creature you control flying. Ugh, maybe a sideboard card in like blue-white flyers against mono red or something. Oh no, I'd rather have Cerulean Drake. Baneslayer Angel, my goodness. 3 white for a 5/5 angel. Flying, first strike, lifelink, protection from demons and dragons. So, I think the text down here, after rotation, maybe would be the most pertinent it'll be in standard, because we got that recent dragon that was put in, that's going to come in, that shoots stuff down based on their power whenever they enter. Protection from that's pretty cool. What demons? Bells Unlock rotated out. You know, let's do this. This is pretty chill. I'm gonna go straight up to Gatherer. We're gonna search by format, standard, and type. Boo boo boo. Demon. Let's go. I'm trying to think of what demons are in standard. Doom Whisperer, sure. He sees no play, sees no play. Gyruda. Nightmare Shepherd? But she's gonna kill him in combat anyway. I guess they can't block. Spawn of Mayhem? Okay, so Spawn of Mayhem's probably the only one that would come up there. Now let's try Dragon. Standard. Boom. Let's go. Corvold's the one that comes to mind. I mean, this isn't even the most important, but I'm interested. Corvold, Niv Mizzet. Shimmer Dragon's not a thing. Sprite Dragon. Okay. So Sprite Dragon, Corvold, and Niv Mizzet. That's somewhat pertinent. She's just such an investment. I want her to be good with all my heart. At the very least, she will absolutely just see sideboard play against like mono red decks or something, or even like Gruul aggro decks, because she just holds the ground so well. Even with, because so many of these creatures you tap out for, they gain you a ton of life. If the Gruul deck just has an Embercleave, it trades with them, but they would still need them to be at least a 4/4 before getting the Embercleave to then still trade with the Baneslayer. That's super cool to me. So protection from dragons, that could come up a tiny bit with Sprite Dragons or Corvolds, but it seems unlikely. But yeah, Brazen Borrower, Teferi, Elspeth Conquers Death, all those just make this kind of embarrassing. And all the decks that I think would want to be playing it, that are kind of in the market for this, is like a sideboard card. They have Dream Trawler as well. And I struggle to see where this is a lot better than Dream Trawler. Survives combat better. But yeah, I want it to be good. I desperately do. I think it'll see sideboard play and some niche main deck play, because it's still a powerful card. It just doesn't do ETB things, and that's something we're going to be sad about for a lot of these cards that come up. And we have a second Baneslayer. Cool. This is even better because it's borderless. That's the other Basri. Doesn't really matter. Basri, 1 white. For a 3 loyalty Basri Planeswalker. +1, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature. It gains indestructible until end of turn. -2, whenever 1 or more non-token creatures attack this turn, create them any 1/1 white soldier creature tokens that are tapped and attacking. -6, you get an emblem with, at the beginning of combat on your turn. Combat, interesting. Create a 1/1 white soldier creature token, then put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Interesting. I kind of like that Planeswalkers are very niche now. Like, I disliked how, I try to think of examples, but in the past, it was pretty much every Planeswalker that was a certain color would be put in every single deck that could have that color in it, Like Jace Vryn's Prodigy would just go in every blue deck, or the old 5-mana Ob Nixilis at the time went in like every single black deck. And I kind of like that this is now in white, predominantly white, aggressive token making probably decks. Like, that's a lot more niche, and it makes it a lot more interesting. It doesn't just dominate the format. So as of now, I just kind of see him as like a worse Gideon, because Gideon's a 3-mana 4/4 indestructible creature that then gives your other creatures indestructible or vigilance or things, and its ultimate is pretty powerful, just exiling a permanent, and it gets to it pretty quick. The emblem for this dude, they made it really good, because that's probably the only thing that's going to make you want to not -2. I'm in this card for the -2. Because 3 mana to just put a counter. Like, would you pay 3 mana for an enchantment that puts a counter on a creature and gives it indestructible once a turn? And that enchantment can die if you are versing a creature deck, or like a deck, it just dies in more ways than an enchantment would. I wouldn't, personally. But that -2 though. You play like a 1-drop in turn 1. What is that card? The card makes 2 1/1s in turn 2. Play him in minus. You get 3 1/1s. You just created your own spectral possession that sticks around, kind of. You're effectively swapping out haste for flying with these tokens. And Spectral Procession was a disgusting card. There's 3 mana to make 3 1/1 flyers. Flying's way better in the long term, but in a deck like this, it could be pretty decent. Or you drop this on turn 4 right after a war boss. That's quite a few tokens. I don't know how you'd make the mana work, but see, here's the thing. I was gonna say pair it with Domri, the 3 mana Domri that pumps all your tokens. That'd be pretty disgusting. The Mentor on the Goblin's pretty good. And that's where I think the double white might come to bite this a ton. The mana for aggressive decks is really bad right now. And I'm picturing this all in multicolored decks. Like a Naya deck. That would be like super cool, or at least red-white. And the double white from this is really going to cause problems with that. So I'm not super excited about it. I think it'll see play in mono-white decks. Especially, gosh, how many of the life gain pieces are rotating out? Not that many. But in Historic, this could be pretty cool as a way to just flood the board and really take advantage of that. Gosh, what is the card's name? The 1 mana 1/1 that gains you life. That seems like a pretty sick way to get a lot of extra life off of this guy, especially if you're on the play. I don't know. I think I see him seeing Fringe play. He doesn't super impress me. That emblem is sick though, and it'll certainly win you the game in any deck that's not, about to combo you out or go way over the top. Because if you're just playing any creatures, you just get a creature that just grows every single turn, and an extra creature. So 2/2 that grows every turn. That's pretty crazy, man. And plus, this will be super fun. What I want to put this in is like a banned counters deck. With like stuff that's really terrible in the format right now, like the 1 mana 1/1 Merfolk that loots, or Shark to Crab, or Growth Chamber Guardian. So that's what I'm looking to do. But again, the mana is going to be a problem. Although that deck's slightly more mid-range. But yeah, I'm not really impressed with this card, to be honest. But if you can get the mana to work in that deck, my gosh. Maybe Historic. There's got to be Historic tokens deck going on. Super awesome with Venerated Loxodon. So maybe like a green-white tokens deck. Because then you also have Imara, the one that taps. And then you have a ton of Anthem effects. So you could do Loxodon, Tristani. And there is a white card that's just straight up an Anthem printed for the same mana cost. So that'd be cool. That'd work. I'll try them on there. Okay, I can see that. And plus you have creatures that want to attack and they get triggers based on their attack. Like Amara. Alright, I can see that. So niche play there. So many Basri Cats. Basri's Acolyte. 2 white for 2/3 lifelink when it enters. Yeah, that's limited to me. Basri's Aegis. 2 white. Okay, that's the limited one. Or the duels dex one. Here we go. Basri's Lieutenant. 3 and a white for a 3/4 Human Knight. Vigilance. Protection from multicolored. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature you control. When it or another creature you control dies. Okay, if it had a +1/+1 counter and it created 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. So the reason I paused there is I wanted to see the way that's worded. It sounds like if it dies, you get a 2/2, or if another creature you control dies with a counter on it, you get a 2/2. But what it means is if any creature you control dies with a counter on it, you get a 2/2. So if you put a counter on something else and this dies, you don't get a 2/2. Because when it or another creature you control dies, if it had a counter. Yes, okay. Anyway, I think this card is great. I think people are really underestimating it. I would consider this the White Questing Beast. It's probably what I will refer to it as. Easier to cast too. It just does so much. It has so much text. It like almost can't help but be good. Maybe it won't be amazing in the format. Maybe we have to wait for rotation or for Uro to get banned or something. But my gosh, dude. So Vigilance, first of all, so it's great in races, which means that it can attack through multicolored creatures and block multicolored creatures really effectively. It can block Nissa lands effectively. It can just be a 4/5 on its own that then makes a 2/2 with Vigilance and Protection for multicolored. If those were like alt abilities, like that's great. My goodness. So we're at a time where cards are at an all-time premium. As Darren gets more powerful, this gets more and more important. that you need creatures to do things when they enter and do things when they leave. Putting a counter on something isn't amazing when it enters, but it also does something when it leaves or when other things leave. So it still has an immediate effect on the way in and on the way out. Oh man, it can't get bounced by Teferi, which is the biggest problem 3 and 4 drops have. So that's amazing. It can't get hit by Expansion Explosion. It can still get bounced by like Brazen Borrow and stuff. If you look at like the biggest decks in the meta right now, right? So Bant Ramp, the biggest interaction pieces. So it can still get hit by Elspeth Conquer's Death. As a 4 drop, that's kind of scary to me. Team Marek, like I said, Expansion Explosion, Uro, it matches up favorably with them. Judge Sacrifice, Corvold can't block it, and Mayhem Devil can't ping it. That's pretty important. Also, it can put counters on your other creatures that, A, it'll take more pings to kill them, and B, if it does, you'll still get a 2-2 out of the deal. Mono green, that won't help. Mono red, it'll still just be a good card against mono red as a 4-5 that dies and makes it 2-2. That's sick. Sultai Ramp, let's see, so it can get hit by casualties favorably against Atris. Creases can't block it. Yeah, casualties can't hit it. Pretty sick, guys. Just get Luca still, really? Without fires? Interesting. And then the Rakdos Sacrifice decks, which are becoming kind of a thing. Fiend Artisan can't block it. Dreadhorde Butcher can't hit it. Mayhem Devil can't do anything to it. Can't get hit by Claim the Firstborn. It's got some stuff going on for it in the format, guys. Protection from Multicolored is kind of a big deal right now. Especially, it's a Ravnica block that's in the set right now. Like, that's gotta do something. Yeah, I just think this just does too much stuff for it not to be at least decent. And I think it'll probably play a similar role to Questing Beast. Just a little bit better at interacting with and pressuring Planeswalkers. It's kind of aggressive. What deck would you want it to be in? It's pretty decent in the life gain decks. This interacts really well with Heliod. I really like that. Dang. Yeah, if a Johnny's Pridemate dies, it makes it 2-2. I'm trying to think what other creatures can counters on it. It's cool because it can put counters on your Healer's Hawks to make them more aggressive. Oh, man. And then, like I said, you still have the green-white or like the Bant decks or like the blue-green. White. I was gonna say blue-green, but this guy's white. The decks that care about counters with like Growth Chamber Guardian or the 1/1 Merfolk that loots or Shark to Crab if you want to get a little more janky. I don't know, maybe it could have a place. But yeah, this card's just so good on rate, and the interaction with Heliod's disgusting. Whereas every creature you get dies, makes it 2-2. And then if you have, what, Daxos? Mixer, Daxos. Boom. Whenever another creature you control enters the battlefield or dies. Yeah, so non-token. Or even tokens, right? So then when the token enters, it's that's like a straight up combo. So Daxos turn 2, Heliod turn 3, Basri's Lieutenant turn 4. Then if anytime anything you have dies, it just makes a 3-3 effectively. Because it'll die. Daxos triggers, you can put a counter on something. The 2/2 enters the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. Oh my gosh, that is actually disgusting synergy right there. Then if 3/3 dies, because both of them don't require non-token, right? Right? So if the 2/2 now made a 3/3 dies, Basri's Lieutenant triggers, Daxos triggers, you get an extra counter something else, because of Heliod. Then the 2/2 enters the battlefield, you gain a life, Heliod puts a counter on the 2/2, makes it a 3/3. That's a pretty good wall to be building up there. So this, with Heliod and Daxos, will make mono red kind of a joke. Coming from the mono white perspective, I would kind of think. Because you put the counter on the self, it's still out of Lava Coil range. Most of the removal red plays won't hit this on its own. Yeah, at that point you just have to worry about being hit with Embercleave or something. That's, yeah. This card, man. Yeah, I think it will find a great home in the mono white deck. It is kind of vying for a place. It's fighting with the 4 mana cost Johnny, so maybe there's some curve considerations there. But my gosh, dude, that scenario just laid out. That's at least worth exploring in some jank videos. Yeah, I think this card's a home run. Won't be as ubiquitous as like an Uro or something, but it'll be absolutely a role player in some sideboards or in some monocolored decks or 2-color decks. All right, Basri Solidarity, 2 and 1 in white, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. The alternate art for these are kind of cool, by the way. Don't kind of like this being obscured like with sand. Like that's like the one card. That's odd. Or one part of the card. Anyway, not amazing. I don't think it's really standard playable. I guess it's kind of like a non-permanent anthem effect for cheap. I think this will be... I would use this in a budget version of mono white in case I don't have like Luxodons or the new anthem, because those are rares. It would be kind of funny to trigger this in all your creatures. It's kind of good for Dreadhorde Arcanist to get back in like a feather style deck. But yeah, and that Bant cares about tokens deck, or a deck that has Proliferate. I'm kind of in for some jank there, but not amazing. Celestial Enforcer, 2 and a white for 2/3, pay 2. Yeah, that's draft. Concordia Pegasus, draft. Containment Priest, 1 and a white for 2/2, Human Cleric with Flash. If a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. So this would have been good against the Luca decks, but they're not really a thing anymore, which is awesome. The problem is when people look at this like, ooh, maybe or whatever, but escape is casting from the graveyard. So this doesn't even stop escape cards, which is what I would want to use it for the most. If Command the Dreadhorde comes back, this would be kind of cool. Elspeth Conquers Death. This is a good card for. So it does help with that. I'm trying to think what else in the format that are big players. Well, let's actually see. Hold on, let's see the Bolas' Citadel. MTG, Bolas' Citadel. If you may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. Yep. So, doesn't even stop Bolas' Citadel in the Junt deck. Bant Ramp, the main thing is ECD. Team Rec doesn't interact with really. Nope. And Lurrus even lets you cast stuff from the graveyard. So so against Yorion decks, creature heavy Yorion decks. That's kind of also where it comes in, which I'm kind of like Most of them are just super enchantment heavy at this point. So it'll be good against my jank, which is a bummer. Those that Sultai Elementals Yorion list is gonna take a bite. Get a bite taken out of it from this. So that's a bummer. The really niche like blue-black reanimator decks that we're seeing play a little while ago, but without Agent of Treachery, those kind of aren't a thing anymore. This actually really hurts my a lot of the decks I like though. My Vanifar decks, bro. That kind of sucks. But yeah, those are the main things I see. So I could see this as kind of a sideboard card. Maybe. I still have to feel that there's better answers to ECD triggers or all the things I listed. Command the Dreadhorde's not a thing, but if it is, this would be decent, I guess. I don't know. At that point, you could just do Gravedigger's Cage, which would probably be better. So, yeah. I don't see it as being like particularly amazing right now. I'm trying to think what else. Non-token creature, because Planeswalkers can still make tokens, ETBs can still make tokens. Yeah. I like this art a lot more. Daybreak Charger, 1 and a white for 3/1. I could be missing something with this. Let me know, guys. Daybreak Charger, 1 and a white for 3/1. When it enters, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Either a budget deck or limited. Defiant Strike. Cool. This would be neat in the feather decks. Target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn, draw a card. I like it for feather. I like it with Dreadhorde Arcanist. Historic, I think they printed a couple heroic cards over there, so maybe over there that could be pretty cool. Oh, for historic, that would have been good against Winota. But that's not a thing anymore. So, doesn't help against Field of the Dead. Trying to think of what other historic stuff is going on. Yeah, that's pretty much what I can think of. Dub. Limited. Faith's Feathers. 3 and a white for an enchantment aura. When it enters, you gain 4 life. Enchant permanent can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. Honestly, if Vraska, 4 mana Vraska becomes like a big deal, I could see Low to the Ground decks playing this over like the 3 mana exile effects from from Theros. But both get hit by ECD, so it doesn't help going the other way if you want to protect it. But I don't know. That's what I can think of. The 4 life gain is pretty sweet, but the decks that mattered against the most, I don't know how good that really is. Because let's see, like you put this on an Annex, you'd much rather have the Annex be exiled. Because then you just play this, they sack the one this is under, and then they get 4 1/1s. That's kind of messed up. On a Steamkin, they can't activate abilities, so it does just effectively get rid of it. Torbrand, it's not activated abilities, so nope, doesn't help with the Torbrand. Yeah, I don't know, there's just so many, it just costs so much mana, and it's so niche against Gruul decks. Like, is it really worth it to pay 1 more mana for something like this for the 4 life? Maybe we could do splitsies. I could see myself doing like 2 of the 3 mana ones and 2 of this one. Or 2 of the 3 mana ones main deck and then 2 of this in sideboard. But I don't know. You'd probably rather just be playing a Shatter the Sky or something. But this does allow you to also hit Planeswalkers while still gaining the life. Huh. But if they just play Clothis or something, this is much worse. So yeah, I don't think I'm big on Face Feathers. I don't think I like it. Think it's not great. Could see some sideboard play. But yeah. Falconer Adept, 3 and a white for a 2/3. Okay, because here's the thing. I'm coming back to this again. I'm sorry, guys. Most of the creatures and things that you want to hit, that you're like, cool. They'll I don't want them to stick around. They're just legendary anyway. So I'll just play it, and then it dies, and then they just have the new one. So it's not really that different from just a standard removal spell. So you get the 4 life from it, but there's more efficient ways of doing that same removal anyway. So you're just paying a whole nother mana for the 4. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm trying to think of other places where this would be better. Okay, here's one. Well, no, they have sack abilities. This is even worse against like the Rakdos decks. I was gonna say you could put on like Luris so that they can't bring him back from like the graveyard or something. But you could just exile him with the other enchantments anyway. And then with this, there's just so much sacrifice going on in a lot of the decks. So when you play Witch's Ovens and stuff, it's... yeah. You can hit a Witch's Oven with it. But so you can also with the other ones, so... yeah, I don't know, mate. I don't know. And plus even then, because if you hit Witch's Oven, you're like, cool, well, they can't sack it. Well, if you're playing Korvold or Bantu, which I've seen a couple copies of in those decks now, they're just gonna... yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. Falconer Adept, 3 and a white for 2/3. Whenever it attacks, make a 1/1 white bird with flying that's tapped and attacking. Limited, very much limited. Feed of resistance, 1 and a white. Put a +1/+1 counter target creature you control. It gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. Hello, Feather. That's pretty sick. Yeah, it's not as mana efficient as God's Willing, and you don't get to scry. But having your dudes get bigger as well, I think that's a pretty big deal. But while God's Willing is in the format, I think I'll totally see myself playing that over this. But this could totally be a role player in a couple decks like that. Since it both, you know, can surprise your opponent and let you win combat rather than just blocking. Or it'll let you attack in. And then with Feather, that's pretty cool. Huh. Yeah, just the fact it costs 2 mana makes it a little bit more rough because usually you're starved for mana on Feather. But, yeah, I like it. Niche playable. Gale Swooper limited. Glorious Anthem, 1 white for an enchantment. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Love it. Pretty neat. Yeah, it's kind of too small ball for what we're doing right now. But hey, in the right deck, this is super powerful. The double white, like I said, will make it pretty rough because I would want to put this in like a Naya deck or like a red-white tokens deck or something. So same problems with Basri, but with this in Basri, you have a lot of token creation and payoffs for having a lot of tokens. So, but yeah, love the art, by the way. Super beautiful, super beautiful. Always think angels are really cool art in MTG, but yeah, I think this is good. It just sucks you're going to play this and then you're still going to get flame sweeped if you have all 1/1s. Or Shatter the Sky, still going to kill all your creatures. It doesn't solve the problems that White Weenie has, which is what this is being made for. And a lot of white weenie decks are just going tall instead of wide right now. With the Johnny's Pridemates and Daxos and Heliod and stuff, there's not like a ton of tokens being generated. You kind of got like 3 or 4 creatures on the battlefield, and Daxos and Johnny's Pridemate and Heliod just make everything get huge. So, maybe in Historic it could see a little more play. Because that white weenie deck tends to go a little more wide. But even then, who knows? Role player in mono white, I don't think it'll make huge waves in standard though, unfortunately. Because your opponent just plays an Uro, and your 4 2/2s just get canceled out by it attacking back. It kills one of your dudes by blocking other attacks back. And yeah, it just doesn't solve the problems white weenie has. Griffin area, 1 and a white for an enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, create a 2/2 white griffin creature token with flying. Oh baby, the white dragonary. Pretty cool, man. I think I like it, because then this helps you... I don't know if it solves the problems, because it's such an investment. But honestly, in white, it's so easy to gain that much life. So it doesn't get hit by ECD. It's like a quote-unquote edge and piece that doesn't get hit by Elspeth Conqueror's Death. It can get bounced by Teferi, which could be annoying. Yeah, that's super annoying. And you kind of would rather just play a creature that'll actually affect the battlefield. But I feel like you kind of wait to play this to like turn 4 or 5 where you're getting the life anyway. Where I could see this, like you play Linden on turn 3. And then this on turn 4. Right? That way, even if you don't just lose board presence by only having a 1-drop by the time this comes down. And there's a lot of stuff. I see this more in like a black-white deck probably too. Because we have, what, Cruel Celebrant, and then we have, there's a new Ghoul that was printed into the set that comes back to the battlefield every time you gain 3 more life. So if there's effects that make you gain life equal to power for sacrificing something, I mean, just think of this, like, I don't know, turn 1 Witch's Oven, turn 2 Ghoul, turn 3 this, I guess. I don't know. The curve, there's a better way to do the curve, I'm sure. But if you have the Ghoul out and this out in a Witch's Oven, you sack the Ghoul, sack the food, end of turn, Ghoul comes back, and you get a 2/2. That's like kind of something. Or if you have like a Cruel Celebrant out and a Priest of Forgotten Gods, you could sack that Ghoul and another creature or something. And which is, I don't know. There's, I'm trying to think of other things. I love this with Sorin, 4 mana Sorin. Because then you can just attack with all your dudes. Maybe they block and kill a 2/2 or something, and then you just break even. And at that point, you're just going to be accruing a ton of flyers as well. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, definitely a fan of that. So love this with Sorin. Ooh, yes. And then we also have, well, I don't know. This is the thing more historic. We have that 2/2 for 2 that you can cast from your graveyard if you've gained life. So maybe if we can get something that, some instant speed sack that gains life. Oh, what? There's got to be something like that in Standard. Gatherer. Think of things that sack instant speed. Alright, so I looked through Gatherer and I did not find anything. I was thinking there's got to be something that you can sacrifice with no mana cost that would help gain you life. Just on its own, but that's not a thing. So I looked for something that you could sacrifice and just gain some life, and none of them are very good. So Witch's Oven seems like the best way you could do it, because then that food just turns into a 2/2, which is pretty cool. But yeah, like I said, I think I like a more proactive plan with like Sorin, and you can just throw this into like a copy or 2 into like the mono white deck that already exists. And I think you can get some good mileage out of it, because with Daxos and Linden, and even in Historic, the 1-drops that gaining life every time a creature enters the battlefield, like those do so much work and get so much out of this for you. So I don't see this as being a huge player, but I think there's a niche deck that could, I feel like I'm saying that for a lot of stuff. There's a niche deck that could probably pick this up and it won't be terrible, because if you play it instead of turn 2 and a later turn where you're going to get value out of it right away, it's effectively just like a 2-mana 2/2 that you play later that then makes 2/2s for the deck. So it's like a decent rate if you think about it like that. You just have to play it in later turns. But yeah, otherwise if you play it in turn 2, it'll probably get bounced by Teferi or something like that. The thing is, some people are even playing main deck Wilts already because of this metagame. because Wilderness Wreck, Witch's Oven, even Mono Green, like Stone Coral Serpent's kind of a problem too. But ECD, gosh, what else? Glass Caskets are played a lot. And then, what is the other one? Bolas's Citadel. We're seeing a good amount of play. And then you got the Yorion decks that are just playing a bajillion different artifacts and enchantments. So it could be in the crossfire there. But you best believe I'm going to brew around this. Black-white historic, I think, will be amazing for this. Otherwise, black-white and standard will be even decent as well. Just because of that new ghoul that they printed. We'll get to that later, though. So, yes, very much like this card. Don't think it'll make any waves in standard, but it'll be cool. On the other hand, we have Idol of Endurance over here. 2 and a white for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, exile all creature cards with the converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard until it leaves the battlefield. They can pay 1 and white. Until end of turn, you may cast a creature spell from among the cards exiled with Idol of Endurance without paying its mana cost. Wow. This is another Luris. And so now that we have to play Luris in our main decks, this is kind of cool to have more redundancy in that effect. And what's even cooler, it doesn't even say like if it dies, exile it, or if it would leave the battlefield, put it in exile instead. So if you can even just have a 2-drop that blinks the Idol, can't really think of any. But in older formats, because I know there's what, the 2-mana 2/3 flyer, Core Skyfisher, that returns a permanent to your hand when it enters. So you can just empty out all the things from the Idol, trade off your whole board again, and then just play one of those and bounce Idol to your hand. And then start over all over again. That seems pretty cool to me. Or I mean, gosh, 3 or less though. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to think. There's got to be something that does that in standard. That returns a permanent to its owner's hand. Or blinks an artifact. Yeah, this is even more powerful. So this A can give back Luris. B hits other things like Deputy of Detention. And I mean, we already have Fiend Artisan. So like this paired with Fiend Artisan is already pretty gross to me. It is 5 mana investment to get back a 3 mana card at best. But my gosh, dude. I mean, if you return 3 3-drops, you get back your mana investment. But no, I really like this in like a Luris deck as some redundancy and a way to get back a Luris. I really like it as, this could even just be a top end for like a mono white or like a sideboard card. Because this doesn't even, how does Grafdigger's Cage worded? Let's see. Prevent players from casting spells or library creature cards from entering the battlefield from a graveyard or library. So this even plays around Grafdigger's Cage because it exiles them first and then you cast them later. You still get cast triggers off of cards because you're casting it without paying its mana cost. So cast triggers and ETBs are a thing. That does mean they can get countered, unfortunately. But I think all in all, it's probably better. It's the way that works. I was going to say convoke cards, but there's probably no convoke cards that cost 3 or less. Creature cards even. But yeah, I really like this as like a late game piece for some decks. This is like the white Journey to Eternity. Which, those of you who've been on the channel for a long time know is one of my favorite cards of all time. So, dang. Yeah, I absolutely love that. This card's great. I think it'll see some sideboard play. It's good against Grafdigger's Cage. You can even get back Uros. Huh. Or Croxes. And then if you just have a way to blink this. I mean, I guess if you want to go super deep, you could just have like this in like a Yorion deck. I don't know what that deck would look like. It'd have to have a bunch of really cheap creatures with ETBs. Huh. Interesting. I don't know, maybe like a Gilded Goose turn 1. And then I was gonna say this turn 2, but this isn't good on turn 2. Yeah, I really like this card the more I think about it. There's some really powerful 3-drop creatures with ETB. But I mean, you even have things like Charming Prince, which can then help you re-trigger bigger creatures, which is pretty awesome. So you can even use this to trigger more powerful effects again. If If you have something that untaps this, you can play multiples. So who knows, maybe even put this in like a Vanifar deck. That's pretty sick. And they can play a corridor monitor from the graveyard again. I think Lurrus will be better because you can fetch it up, but who knows, man. That's doing 3 or less. Just with cards as powerful as like Fiend Artisan, or like Dreadhorde Butcher, or Priest of Forgotten Gods, this is just really powerful right now. Deputy of Detention. Oof. Yeah, definitely a fan. Definitely a fan. The problem with what I said earlier is that you actually have to put Corridor Monitor in your deck to untap this, so it's not what you want to be doing. Huh. And if you have flash creatures, this does allow you to play them on your opponent's turn. Because it says it allows you to cast it. It doesn't do the casting, so you can't just play your creatures on your opponent's turn willy-nilly. They have to be flash already. So, something to consider. But yeah, love the card, man. Legion's Judgment. Traditional creature power 4 or greater. Limited. Light of Promise. Enchanted creatures, whenever you gain life, put them on your +1/+1 counters on this creature. 3 mana is too much to be 2 for 1 like that. Makeshift Battalion. 3 mana for a 3/2. Whenever it and at least 2 other creatures attack, put a counter on it. Limited. Mangara the Diplomat. 3 and white for a 2/4 legendary human cleric with lifelink. Whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, okay, if 2 or more of those creatures are attacking you and or planeswalkers you control, draw a card. Okay, it's phrased like that for EDH. I was gonna say, I'm like, why doesn't it say whenever an opponent attacks with 2 or more creatures? Whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, draw a card. Interesting. People brought this up in Eternal formats, and I feel like you have cheaper creatures that do the same thing. For the second part anyway, where they cast their second spell, or just straight up prevents them, like Aethersworn Canonist. But this is a sideboard card against mono red, seems amazing to me. Although it costs 4. At that point, they usually have a Embercleave. But if you're even halfway stabilized, so unless they have the perfect curve out, it's pretty good. I mean, you could even just play this like Deafening Clarion turn 3, this on turn 4. That's pretty disgusting. Yeah, their second spell. In a Vanifar deck, this would be kind of cool to fetch up, I guess. Against like a... an Is It Spells deck or... Temur Rec. Even Bant Ramp plays a lot of spells. It gets bounced by Teferi for doing nothing, which is a bummer. It dies to ECD, which is a bummer. But, dude, mono red, like, I see this as a really good sideboard card. Which sucks to have a Mythic be relegated to just a good sideboard card, but you see there's a lot of good sideboard cards against aggro still, which is weird because aggro doesn't seem that amazing right now. But I mean, Moit has Baneslayer Angel, this, Basri's Lieutenant. Just ways to just wreck mono red effectively. And again, they have like a Torbrand or a Embercleave, you're kind of screwed, but as long as you can answer those, you're doing pretty good. So, what other decks would this be good against? Against Jund? I think it's decent against Jund, unless they're playing like Priest and this is your only creature. It seems pretty cool because they do like to attack with multiple creatures. Mayhem Devils, Corvolds, and stuff. Which at that point they probably just wouldn't. They'd probably just attack with Corvold. But if the deck that doesn't run Corvold, they tend to do that. Otherwise, they try to ping you out with Mayhem Devil. But with their Trailochrums and their Bolas's Citadels and everything, they tend to cast a ton of spells. So if you can keep the Mayhem Devils off the board, this will probably stick around. Even then, it takes 4 pings. So yeah, I kind of like this against Jund as well. Let's see what else we got here. Mono green, mono red, Sultai Ramp, Ghoul midrange, Rakdos Sacrifice. I feel like Sacrifice will be too good at taking out smaller creatures, and it has Priest of Forgotten Gods to take this out, so. Again, niche sideboard card, I think, which is a bummer. But, card rotation if we don't have as many good white cards to side in against aggro. This could do things. But still does nothing when it enters, which is a bummer. Alright, here we go. I'm sure you guys were waiting for this. 9 lives. 1 white for an enchantment with hexproof. If a source would deal damage to you, prevent that damage and put an incarnation counter on it. When there are 9 or more incarnation counters on 9 lives, exile it. When it leaves the battlefield, you lose the game. So first off, I saw some people saying, oh, maybe you should blink it to get rid of the counters. And to them I say, read the card. Someone I saw like, oh, put it in the Orion deck, and I'm like, you'll lose the game, so maybe not. A really funny way to lose playing this would be if your opponent had a proliferate. Because I'm pretty sure that gets around hexproof because you're choosing, not targeting. Yeah, it definitely gets around hexproof. So that would be hilarious. But this is comparable to Phyrexian Unlife, I think it is, where after you go past 0, you get infect counters. But the thing is with this, if you play this on 10 life, you still only have 9 counters to work with. If you play it on 1 life, you have 9 counters to work with. So you have to time it properly, which makes me not like it very much. The one thing that makes it better, that could be better than Unlife, is it's better against like a couple huge creatures. Because where Unlife is a problem, if they attack with a 6/6, you get 6 infect counters. If they attack you with 1/6/6 with this, you have 9 turns to work with, or 8 turns technically, I guess. So that's pretty cool. So it might be better against like Gruul than it would be against like token decks or something, where they're attacking with like 2 creatures sometimes. Sometimes. But at that point, would you rather just have removal? It does work with Solemnity, just like Phyrexian Unlife does. But again, in those formats, I feel like Unlife is probably just better. Also, Unlife, the turn it comes down, like they still have to get you. Like if you're at 1 life and they hit you for 20 damage, it still stops you at 0. Because that doesn't trigger unless you're at 0 or less. This doesn't have that same effect. And that's why I said you kind of have to have the timing right where you're down to like 3 life or something. So yeah, don't really like it. I searched for cards that said remove a counter in standard. Or remove counters. All that came up for me was Soul Diviner. If I looked around more, maybe there's something else that had it. Historic, I'm not sure what there is. But yeah, if you can get something that can just remove counters, then you're in the clear. But I would be hard pressed to find something like that in Historic or Standard. So, yeesh. Yeah, not a huge fan. I think it's cool when it has the art for all the other cats out there. I'm pretty sure a lot of these are cards. Like, isn't this... I want to say Brahmin. That is not at all. What is the name? He's a 1 and a white for a 3/4 vigilance cat. When he attacks, he makes a 1/1 every turn. Brimaz, yeah, there it is. Brimaz. So that's really cool. Art's really cool. Flavor of the card's amazing. Don't really see myself playing it though. Maybe against like Death Shadow or something in Modern. But you could be playing better stuff than that. Yeah. And then otherwise, I'm trying to think, playing this against like a control deck? No. Because most of the time these say if you would lose the game, you don't, or whatever. Huh. Maybe in Historic you pair this with like the Angel, Platinum Angel. And then you have 2-way. No, that's just too. I don't know. I'm stretching. I'm just stretching for this. I don't know what I was even thinking with that. Yeah, not a huge fan of it. I mean, it's cool, but I don't think it'll be good. Pack Leader, 1 and a white for a 2/2. Other dogs you control get +1/+1. And he's a dog. Cool. Not legendary. Whenever Pack Leader attacks, prevent all combat damage with dealt this turn to dogs you control. Well, hello there. Hello. Standard. Type. Dog. Sort order. CMC. See what we're working with. Nothing. Huh. Did I search that wrong? Types. Standard. Oh, did not take effect yet? Are they still hounds? Because I'm pretty sure there were some. There it is. Okay, so these will all be dogs later. He's fine for the deck, I guess. I don't know. Not great. Underworld Ragehound is good. Kunaros. Okay, cool. For those of you who don't know, as far as I heard properly, sorry, those are all tabs. And boom. Okay. As far as I know, hounds are going to be retconned into... Retconned? I forget the actual word for it, but you know what I mean. This is going to be changed into dogs. So all things that are hounds should be dogs, with the release, of course, at 21. This is amazingly powerful. If this was in, like, actually super well-supported tribe, I think this would be, like, disgusting. Because, I guess it has to attack as well, but it's a 2-drop, so, like, oof. But if they remove it, it's not like you could play it and then attack. But, dude, the fact that even this, too, gets indestructible, you just get to attack with all your creatures every turn. If you have something that triggers based on how many creatures you attack with, you just get that for free. You can just sneak in damage willy-nilly. They can attack back, but you're the aggressive deck if you're playing this. That is pretty messed up. I think it's really good. I think we just have to see how well supported dogs are. This ability here just allows for such free attacks and such easy ways just to threaten stuff. Like that's amazing. Love the card. We'll see what dogs are in here to see whether it's good or not. Oh, I love this art. Okay, best card in the set. Rambunctious Mutt. 3 white for 3/4 dog. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact or enchantment opponent controls. Okay, maybe a sideboard card for this deck, but again, you don't want to be doing this with your 5-drop, but whatever. White has a 1 mana cost, or 1 cost spell that can destroy an enchantment, so yeah, not sure about that. But hey, probably limited playable. Alright, next we got Revitalize, which is 1 white for an instant. You gain 3 life, draw a card. I loved this when this was in standard before. I played this in the, gosh, when Ixalan was still a thing. When Ixalan was still unconstructed, gosh, what was I playing? What's the name of the card? There's a 4 mana artifact that when you play instants or sorceries, you put a counter on it, and then you can flip it to then copy spells. And I had like a ton of Revitalizes, and I won by doing like Star of Extinctions and copying them. Oh, it was so great. Just destroying all my opponent's lands. Might still be on the channel. We should see. I think it was Jeskai Control and Ixalan Block Constructed. That'd be a fun one for you guys. But yeah, I think this card isn't amazing right now. You have to be doing shenanigans with it. It's kind of funny in the life gain deck, because 3 life is exactly the threshold they're all looking for. So it's just like a 2 mana cycler that hits all your payoffs, but then if you don't have your payoffs, it's pretty bad. Just a 2 mana cycle card that gains you 3 life. But I'm trying to think what decks I would put this in. Decks that can discount it. A Jeskai Goblin Electromancer deck. Even like I had this kind of made deck in some of my control decks where like instead of playing Opt, I would just play this, because it effectively trades for a card in like the burn mono red decks. Not as good against the mono red decks now, because then they'll just untap and swing for like 30. So probably an Aether Gust or something, or a gosh, I'm so bad with names today. The spell costs 1 white, exile a red creature, planeswalker, red or black, scry 1. That's probably better. But this could be fun in the black-white life gain deck as a niche card, because at worst it just cycles, so you know, can't be all bad. Ruined Halo, white for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, choose a card name. You have protection from the chosen card name. If it was you and permanents you control, that'd be pretty sick. But I don't think this will do anything great in standard right now. It's pretty good against Mayhem Devil and Expansion Explosion. That's pretty cool. I expected curses in this set, but that's not even a thing, so those are the 2 big things I can think of. I mean, I guess in an ideal Christmas land scenario, it'll protect you against duress or agonizing remorse. But if you're gonna do this, bring in this just for that, you might as well just bring in the white Leyline. Probably have a better time with that. Yeah, most of the cards this protects you from, Leyline protects you from. So yeah. And plus, even if you play this against Expansion Explosion, they have Brazen Borrower, they have Uro. Doesn't super solve your problems, but I guess I could see maybe if you have 4 Tef and like 2 of this, that could be a pretty decent sideboard plan against Wilderness Wreck, but yeah, not a huge fan. I guess if you play against a deck that literally has 1 win con and their sideboard does nothing to rectify that, well, this card's pretty good, but I don't see a lot of that going on in standard. Most of the cards that impact the board create things that then kill you. They don't kill you themselves. So, Sanctum of Tranquil Light, 1 white for a legendary enchantment shrine. Pay 5 white to tap target creature. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each shrine you control. Limited or jank shrine deck. So it costs 5 effectively then, when it comes down. That could be pretty powerful. And you best believe that these new shrines up to Koli are going to be playing historic shrines. So be ready for that. Seasoned Hollowblade, 1 white for a 3/1. Discard a card and tap it. It gains indestructible. So it's the new Legion. Gosh, the 3/1 the 1/1 who's the 3/1 when he was attacking. You can pay 4 to give him indestructible. Not nearly as good, but honestly, in aggressive white decks, I think he'll be all you need. They flood out super hard. Its cards are important to it, but if you're just top decking lands, might as well put it into something. And now the white decks can be pretty resilient against sweepers. They have this. They have the 1 mana dog we're going to see that sacrifices to make something indestructible. It has Heliod to keep yourself a board present. It has Bosri's Lieutenant to make 2/2s out of all the dudes who die. It's got some stuff going on. And now has the Idol that can cast creatures from the yard. So yeah, I think I could see this in a more resilient version of Mono White rather than the all-in version we have right now. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Or, I don't know, in the black-white life gain deck, this could then discard, if you're going historic, they have the 2 mana 2/2 you can cast from the yard if you gain life, or the 2 mana 3/1 in this set that when you gain 3 life enters the battlefield. So plenty of ways to cast stuff from the yard. So this with the Luris is also pretty good. Yeah. I like it. I like Hollowblade. Secure the Scene, 4 white for a sorcery. Exile target non-land permanent. Its controller makes a 1/1 limited. Good for limited, but limited. Selfless Savior, let's go, dude. Love the art. 1 white for a 1/1 Doge. Sacrifice it. Another target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. Really good. Possibly better with Luris than Alseed. Maybe a split. It doesn't cost mana, and that's really the big difference here. To do the ability. To cast it, it still does. But yeah, that is pretty good. It insulates you against sweepers really well. Good with the pack leader. Curve it in to make it a 2/2 attacking in, protects the pack leader. This is the type of stuff I want to see in the dog deck. This is a really powerful piece you would play anyway. Possibly even better. Well, yeah, I'd say just better than because that one night, the 1 mana 2/1 Dauntless Bodyguard, you could sack to give it indestructible, but it had to enter the battlefield after the creature you want to protect it with. That's not what you want to see in a 1/1. So this makes it even better. You can do it to any creature, and it can do it even if you play it first. It's, yeah, definitely a really good card. I'm probably going to put it in some Vannifar decks, just as a way to protect my important pieces. I could see that. Because if I have a Vannifar deck that makes a lot of tokens, I can sack the token to fetch him up. That's pretty cool. Yeah, seems really good in aggro decks, man. Sea Striker, 2 and white for a 1/1 double strike. Whenever it attacks, you may tap any number of untapped creatures you control. It gets +1/+1. It's like Exalted, but worse. I'm sure there's some shenanigans we can do with this. Doesn't even get trample or anything. Not a fan. Not a fan. Sigiled Contender. 3 and white for a 3/3 human warrior. It has lifelink as long as it has a counter on it. Limited. Speaker of the Heavens. 1 mana for a 1/1 human cleric vigilance lifelink. Create a 4/4. Tap it and create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. Activate it only if you have at least 7 life more than your starting life total, and only when you can cast a sorcery. So people are hating on this card. They're like, man, yeah, it doesn't do anything unless you have the other life, or it dies really easily to removal. See, that's the type of stuff that is really a deal breaker for like 3, 4, 5, 6 mana cost stuff, like Baneslayer Angel. But this is a 1-drop. If you can supply a 1-drop that your opponents must answer, that's great. They kill it, you're like, cool. They don't kill it, you just win the game. Like, that's an amazing investment. As opposed to Baneslayer Angel, you're spending 5 mana. It's a whole lot of turns, a whole lot of lands to just get blown out by something, you know? Whereas this guy, you just play him on turn 1, he can swing it. Vigilance and lifelink for a 1/1 already is like pretty decent. Pretty decent, dude. It would be good against mono red if you have like a Heliod out or something and you put a couple counters on it already. And that mono white deck, unless you're up against mono red, it has a real easy time getting past, honestly, even the 15 life to get the Ajani ultimate going, which is disgusting. So I don't see them having a problem getting this. I think this is a slam dunk. In Historic, there's like some Goblin Chain Whirler stuff going on and nonsense like that. But dude, you play this, you play the 1/1 that gains you a life every time a creature enters the battlefield, and then you play Sarah Ascendant. Now the deck has 8 1-drops that you have to answer. It has Luris to get them back. You could splash Death for black for Call the Death Dweller if you really wanted and get some more back. Or heck, Command the Dread Horde. You have enough life, you can get back your whole yard. You have a Johnny's Pridemate, which becomes a must answer. You have Heliod, which turns any life-linking or life-gaining creature into a must answer. It's just... There's just so much value in that deck now. They're giving it such great tools, it's insane. So yeah, this does die to removal, and this can do almost nothing for you. But its floor, in terms of rate, is great for a 1/1. If you top deck it and you're not against an aggro deck, it's a threat, because chances are you're going to have a lot of life. And you can just win games. This is like this is the White Dragon Master Outcast. And I love Dragon Master Outcast. So yeah, A+, man. Love it. Staunch Shield Mate limited, Swift Response limited, but it's an instant. They finally did it. These used to suck because they were sorceries, so you'd have to take the damage from the creature first, or you couldn't protect your Planeswalker. It's an instant, so who knows, man? It could even see playing constructed. Is it like a much worse, well, in some cases worse, answer or response to gosh, what was that? Seal Away? Seal Away was a great card. This will be like our new version of it. But yeah, man, it could even kill like a Priest of Forgotten Gods after it triggers. That's pretty cool. I mean, there's better answers by that point, but hey, for your opponent's attack or activating abilities, that's pretty good. Pretty good. I can see it as a role player. Fringe sideboard. Tempered Veteran, 1 in white for a 1/2. Human Knight. Pay 1. Tap it, put a +1 on counter target creature with a counter on it. Pay 4 in white, put a counter on target creature. Limited for sure. Although 1 mana, if you have Heliod out, this can do some things. But it costs 2 mana. I don't like it. I don't think it's very good. 2 mana for 1/2 is not very good, and it won't do anything unless anything else does it. I know I just said, oh, well, but 1 drop. 2 drops getting more difficult, and this requires a lot more investment from you. Especially since most of the cards that would allow you to start doing this are 2 drops already. So it's gumming up the wrong slots. If this was a 1 drop, I think it'd be on board. Oh, this also kills Fiend Artisan. That's cool. And Vanifar, which is not cool. Valorous Steed, 4 and a white for a 3/3 Vigilance. Enters, make a 2/2 limited. Vern Wingmare, limited. Warded Battlements, 2 and a white for an 0/3 Defender. Tagging creatures you control get +1/+0. Interesting card, limited. 3 mana for an 0/3 is a lot for an 0/3 Defender. Alright, Barin, Tolarian Archmage, 1 blue for a 2/2 Legendary Creature Human Wizard. When he enters the battlefield, returns 1 other target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent is put in your hand from the battlefield this turn, draw a card. So notice one other target creature, not one your opponent controls. So you can bounce your own stuff. So he's effectively, I guess, a better Mana War. It's weird though. How often do you want to bounce your own stuff with him? Maybe if I'm playing like my Vanifar deck and I want to bounce one of my creatures. But it's not like I could do that in response to a sweeper or something, because all the Fiend Artisans and Vanifar do it at sorcery speed, which is a bummer. But worst case scenario, he's like a, you know, he'll fill the slot of Teferi of 3 mana. You want to bounce something. Perhaps put into your hand. See, if it said left the battlefield or entered the battlefield, like blinked or returned your hand, I'd be all over it. Permanent is turn to your hand. It pairs kind of cool with Kogla. If you return this, you don't get the trigger though. So you need humans and Kogla. Trying to think of other cards that return creatures you control to your hand. I'm drawing a blank, guys. I'm drawing a blank. And most of the bounce stuff says return a permanent your opponent controls to its hand. It's not like you could pair this with like a Brazen Borrower or something. Um, and if he gets bounced by Teferi, he doesn't trigger. If your 2-drop gets bounced and he's on the battlefield, it triggers. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't really. If a permanent was put in your hand from the battlefield. So it's not even just a creature. So if you have Teferi, you could bounce your own things to your hand and then go for that. What are the permanents that return to our hand? I'm thinking I'm like Batterskull. That'd be a good one to have with him. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't honestly I don't really see where he fits. 3-mana 2/2 bounce a dude isn't amazing in a standard format where everything has to creature or planeswalker though. That's where I think he gets the most of his value then. If you have a planeswalker, you take it down a couple times, it's at 1 loyalty, you play him and bounce it to your hand. That's like fine, not great. Not what I want to be doing. That's so weak when your opponent's casting Expansion Explosion for like 20 or attacking you with an Uro. Yeah, I'm sorry guys, I don't really like Baron. I could be super overlooking stuff. I didn't do a ton of research on him, but yeah, not a huge fan. Cancels in the set, we have way better counter magic. Captures field limited. Discontinuity. Blech. 3 blue instant. As long as it's your turn, the spell costs 2 blue less to cast. End the turn. So this is straight up a counter spell for 2. If you end up getting to 6 mana, which isn't super hard in the standard format, you can just wreck your opponent. Like they cast an Uro from the yard, they exile their entire graveyard. You cast this, the Uro gets exiled as well. Which, you know, it's the same as like a Syncopate or something, but that's like a floor scenario. It's all spells and abilities from the stack. If they have a Yorion that they played and exiled other stuff, this is hilarious. We have Tail's End though, but that'll rotate out. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of see this as more like EDH Jank or like Sundial the Infinite decks or something. Standard, be fun to ramp over and just our opponent's upkeep just end the turn. But with Teferi being in play all the time, not doing its thing. Enthralling Hold, 3 blue, enchant creature. You can't choose an untapped creature as a spell's target as you cast it. You control enchanted creature. Not a fan of this card. This is like such a hard tempo loss because your opponent has to be playing enough creatures that you want to take them. They have to have already attacked with it. So if it's like an Uro or something, it's already tapped. And if they have enough creatures for that, you taking a tapped creature and it not being able to block is just such a huge tempo loss that I can't see this being like a huge playable thing. And half the time the cards, if your opponent just has one really powerful creature you want to take, I guess maybe you could put this on an Uro or something, but then they could just bounce it to your hand. Most of the decks are also playing Teferi anyway, or Brazen Borrower, or they can just destroy the enchantment and then they just get it back. I don't know, it's just really bad in my opinion. 5 mana is a lot for something that has this much wrong with it. Frantic Inventory, 1 in blue, draw a card, then draw cards equal to the number of cards named Frantic Inventory in your graveyard. Yes! Yes, please! I love this card. It seems great in like a Phoenix deck with like Goblin Electromancer, Sultai Graveyard decks where like you kind of mill over and you want your Uros going. Again, you might have to exile Frantic Inventories to get the Uro back, maybe, but I'm sure if you build the deck enough, you can work around it. Titan's Nest decks, maybe? This would allow you to get through your deck really quick, really easily. And if you're putting enough cards that you want to be playing Titan's Nest, this will probably fit in there. Yeah, because the time you cast it first time is pretty bad. Second time is great. Third time is disgusting. So yeah, love this card. It has to go in the right deck. Like I said, a Phoenix deck or a graveyard-based deck. Don't know if I see myself playing it for value, especially in like a growth spiral slot of a deck. Oof. But yes, I am totally into this card. Blue-black Reanimator. Yes, that's another one. But yeah, super happy this is in standard. I've always loved it. There was kind of a version of this card on Magic Duels, I think. If you guys played that. And I loved that card. Alright, Frost Breath. We got 2 and a blue for an instant, tap 2 creatures. Okay, limited. Ghostly Pilferer, 1 and a blue for a 2/1. Whenever it becomes untapped, you may pay 2 if you do draw a card. Whenever an opponent casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card. Discard a card, it can't be blocked. I think this is pretty good. Especially like a mono blue card. Ooh. Oh man. It doesn't have flying, which is a bummer, which is why it has this ability. But if you can just get in for free like a couple times, just drawing 2 cards. If your opponent's playing Luris, boom, get cards every time they cast. Every time. Every time. Every time they escape something, you get a card. That's crazy. Or if they have, I don't know, if they're playing like the Sultai Ultimatum, effects like that. You get to draw a card. Yeah, that's Vadrock, you get to draw a card. Let me think. The Idol that we saw earlier, you draw a card off that. There's just a whole lot of nonsense going on. So yeah, I think that's the most powerful part of it. This right here, and the fact you can just slide into mono blue without a hitch. Because so many times you're drawing a lot of cards and you have a land to pitch here or there. And you effectively, over the course of the next turn, turning that land into a new card by allowing this to attack. I think that's really good. Don't really know what other decks I really seeing play in. Maybe it could be like a sideboard, but it dies to like the Luris decks so quick, or like the Jund Food decks. Because this would interact really funnily with Bolas' Citadel. If your opponent had a Citadel out, every time they cast a spell, you would draw a card. That's pretty sick. But, like I said, he just dies to like every single removal piece. And from there, I'm kind of like, Because then I was going to say mono red as well, because they have like Experimental Frenzy or Light Up the Stage. And you draw cards off that. So it's good for card advantage in that sense, but it does also die to almost everything. But I guess against standard mono red, it wouldn't be terrible. Historic, where it's like Fanatical Firebrand and more low to the ground stuff and more burn spells, probably not. But again, if you're going to use a sideboard card like this against mono red, maybe do Cerulean Drake. Which is why it probably is better in the main deck. Because then it works pretty decent against all the escape cards. Maybe kind of get you a card or two against mono red. Especially if you're racing. Oh, but it just gets blocked so easily by mono red, and so like, oh, the blocks are so unfavorable, so you'd have to discard a card like every time. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's decent for mono blue. What other decks would want it? Discarding a card in decks where discarding a card is actually useful. That could also be really cool. Like maybe you yourself are a Sultai Escape deck. Yeah, or like a, I'm trying to think what other graveyard based decks there would be. Blue, white, Luris, blue, black, Luris. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's super fragile and doesn't get enough. Like drawing a card here and there. Ooh, it does work on casts, so then you can just counter the spell and still get the card, which is pretty sick. So this could be the thing that's like the last straw against like a Bant deck or something, because so many times when I'm Bant or Sultai or some sort of like rampy, control-y Uro deck, my last hope is like, well, let's just hope this Uro resolves and then he stabilizes. This drawing you a card to maybe be able to counter it. That's worth something. I don't know, I think it's fine. Not going to do anything insane. But I'm sure there's a couple games you're going to play where this draws you like 7 cards, and it's going to be amazing. Historian of Zalfir, 2 blue for 3/3. Whenever it attacks, if you control Teferi Planeswalker, draw a card. Teferi's good enough, maybe this is standard playable, huh? Just got Elder, 1 and a blue for 1/2 prowess. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may loot. Super cool for a budget is a deck, man. You got this, you got Lord Drakis. Yeah, I'll totally be making a budget is a deck around this, probably. Or including this. Keen Glidemaster, 1 blue for 2/1. Yeah, limited. Whenever it attacks, draw a card. Limited. 3 mana for 1/2 is unacceptable in standard. Lofty Denial, 1 and a blue for an instant. Counter attack a spell unless its control plays 1, so 4 spike. If you control a creature with flying, counter that spell unless its control plays 4 instead. This is absolutely disgusting in the blue-white Flyers deck. 90% of the time your opponent has to play on curve anyway. And so when they have to play around this, quench, negate, sinister sabotage, neutralize, and historic dive down as well, spell pierce, they're just gonna get it wrong. even if they try to play around the 1. So if I'm playing against mono blue at this point, I'm just going to be jamming. And I'm going to have to be playing a curve anyway. So even if you don't have a flyer, you can still get them. And then if you do, it's Spectral Sailor in turn 1, just turns this on. And blue-white flyers, you have like Healer's Hawk and the Pegasus, the Pegasus, Trusty Pegasus. All those turn this on turn 2. That's disgusting, man. It's just like a Mana Leak on steroids, dude. They're really pushing Flash right now, dude. This is really good. Miscast, single blue, counter target instant or sorcery spell unless his controller pays 3. This is hilarious to counter something like a Casualties of War. Or like a Command the Dread Horde. But honestly, I think Mystical Dispute is just strictly better. Because it hits Teferi, and Teferi just turns this off. Also, in the late game, when this is better and a cheaper way to counter opponent's huge spells anyway, I think holding the 3 up for Mystical Dispute is just more of a thing you can do at that point anyway. So, yeah. I think it'll see some play, for sure. But I think Mystical Dispute is just better at this point. Especially because all the decks just have a Simic base, pretty much. What else could it do? I guess on the play it can counter like a Duress. But that's not what you want to be doing. And then yeah, like Expansion Explosion, that already gets hit by Mystical Dispute. Growth Spiral already gets hit by Mystical Dispute. Teferi does. And this doesn't hit that. I'm trying to think of other big ones. I said Casualties. This can't counter ECD. The other one can. Not for cheap, but it can. Yeah, I just don't like this nearly as much. Limited card. Mystic Skyfish. 2 in blue for 3/1. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, it gains flying. Love the art. It's kind of goofy, doofy looking. Limited. Opt. It's back. I don't know what you want me to say. Pursued Whale. 5 in blue for an 8/8 whale creature. Whenever it enters the battlefield, each opponent creates a 1/1 red pirate creature token. With this creature can't block, and creatures you control attack each combat if able. Spells your opponents cast the target, it costs 3 more to cast. So this does almost nothing in almost every matchup that matters in Standard right now. Team Wreck just bounces it, or just, I don't know, Urro's a thing, or you're dead already, or Expansion Explosions you. Bant Ramp bounces it, exiles it with ECD. They already have 6 Nissa lands by the time you cast this out. Jund Sacrifice, Priest of Forgotten Gods, Rakdos is Priest of Forgotten Gods. They'll burn you out with Mayhem Devil. They'll have tag with everything, but it'll be too late anyway. It's just such a slow card. Mono red and mono green will definitely kill you before you cast this. Sultai Ramp has Casualties and all that sort of nonsense. So it dies really easy. But in jank builds, in creature matchups, creatures you control attack each combat fable is pretty crazy. You have an 8/8, so you know you're going to get effectively a decent. This would be like if you want to go super over the top hyperbolic, this is a baby Emrakul. Baby Emrakul. Because what Emrakul did a lot of the time when your opponent was empty handed, so you would cast it, and then you control their turn, you attack into your Emrakul. You have a 13/13, so you have good blocks, you take their biggest creature. This could do a similar thing. It's a huge stretch. It's a huge stretch. But you can quote me on this. Pursued Whale is basically a baby Emrakul. Yugi. Eugenides 2020. But yeah, so cheating this into play for that is kind of hilarious in my opinion. So maybe we can get some jank deck going like that. There is that deck with like all the Krakens and Whales and Leviathan tribal. That could be interesting. But yeah, I think the best thing, spells your opponent casts that cost 3 more to cast is part of it. That's kind of cool. Because anything that would cost enough to cast this would cost a bajillion at that point. But you have Planeswalker abilities. You have Elspeth Conquers Death, which doesn't cost 3 extra. And that's a problem. But cheating this in the play against a creature deck will be hilarious. And it is my goal to do that just once. Rain of Revelation. 3 blue for an instant. Draw 3, discard 1. Excellent in graveyard based decks. It's just like a strictly better Sift. And if you're not playing an enchantment deck, maybe you'll play this over the 3 mana card that draws 3 and discards 2 unless you discard an enchantment. But if you're doing a graveyard deck, you probably want that anyway because then you get more cards in the yard. And Chemist's Insight I like a lot more than this too. So, I don't know. In like a combo based deck, maybe like 1 or 2 of this in Team or Wreck. But you already have Thassa's Intervention. So, yeah. Don't know. It's cool. Love the art, but don't think it's going to make waves. Read the Tide, 6 mana. Choose one, draw 3 cards, return, yeah, limited. Rewind is disgusting. 2 blue, counter target spell, untap up to 4 lands. The fact this is on the same mana cost as a Frilled Mystic, so you'll be able to counter 2 spells for 4 mana, or a Nightpack Ambusher, so you can counter their big sweeper or their Planeswalker and then play an Ambusher. That tempo loss is just something you do not come back from, like, ever. So, yeah, definitely going to be good in those decks. Don't really see it too much in Control. It does allow you to untap your castles. So if you want to scry, maybe you could put in a couple of these in Team Wreck if you want to do that with the scry land. But you already have like the Reclamation, which you usually have more mana than you know what to do with, so if you're gonna want to get real janky, you can untap. Oh gosh, what is that land name? Does a land that it enters the battlefield tapped, you sack 2 lands when it enters and taps for 3 mana. Maybe you could pull it off somehow. I have no clue. But that's a thing, I guess. Like maybe you Grazer in turn 1, play that turn 2 with I don't know, something else for 2 mana. And then turn 3, you play Kiora into land, so you have 4 mana, untap it for 4 mana. Then you have a rewind. And then you have 4 mana again. And then from there, I don't know. That seems so bad to me, but if you want to get really deep, you could do that. But I think it'll just be a huge role player, counterspell in the mono blue, in the flash decks. Also, it's the same cost as the ability for Spectral Sailor. That's huge. I'm going to hate playing as this card. Riddle Form, 1 in blue for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may have Riddle Form become a 3/3 Sphinx creature with flying. Till end of turn, pay 2 in blue and scry 1. This is going to be another piece in that budget is a deck. We're going to have Riddle Form, we're going to have Lord Drakis, we're going to have that other 2-drop we saw. Jeskai Elder. And yeah, all those are huge, hard-hitting creatures for 2 mana. You could have Goblin Electromancer in there, and just then you're off to the races, man. Yeah, I think it could be pretty good. Not playable in Standard, but playable in Budget, that's for sure. Roman Ghostlight, turn with 1 target non-spirit creature to... I can return anyone's creature to its owner's hand, limited. Rookie Mistake, single blue, until end of turn, target creature gets +0/+2, another gets -2/-0, limited. Rousing Reed, when it enters the battlefield, draw 2, then discard 1, it gets +1/+1 as flying. That could be interesting for the budget deck, giving that Jeskai Elder prowess. Hits for 3, we draw 2 and loot 1, and then loot off that dude too. I could see that. Don't see it doing anything else though. Sanctum, being able to become main phase, draw X, and then draw X and then discard. Sweet. Like I already said, Shrine deck's coming. See the Truth, 1 in blue for sorcery. It's Anticipate, so look at the top 3, put 1 in your hand. But then, if it was cast from anywhere other than your hand, put each of those cards in your hand so you draw 3 instead of just looking at 3 and taking 1. I think this is great, and the decks that want it. I don't think you're just going to play this in any deck, because obviously not any deck can cast it from the yard. I did see in Versus Live, Ross Merriam was playing a Phoenix deck, and this was doing work, absolute work with him with the Red Finale, where you cast 1 instant and 1 sorcery from your graveyard. And that's important because the deck was overloaded on instants usually, and this is a good sorcery to put in because you're playing like Anticipates before or whatever. You have Ops, you have Shocks, you have Lightning Strikes. This really helps with that. In Jeskai Feather, maybe you pair this alongside Dreadhorde Arcanist if you're desperate. I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah. And then, I'm trying to think what other circumstances you can cast it from. Vadrock. This is really good with a Vadrock. But again, Vadrock is just a difficult deck building thing already. So I don't know about that. But if I'm playing Vadrock, I'm definitely putting this in the deck. Let's put it that way. So yeah, I think it'll be really good in the 2 decks. It's a really good, powerful card, but the decks it's good in are always going to be tier 2. Until rotation, maybe. But then Phoenix rotates out, so that's how I see it. Excellent card, just doesn't have a powerful enough home. Shacklegeist, 1 in a blue for a 2/2. It can block only creatures flying. Tap 2 untapped spirits you control. Oh, yikes. Tap 2 untapped spirits you control. Tap target creature you don't control. Interesting. I don't know if spirits are really powerful enough in standard anymore, though. We had our Lord rotate out. And yeah. It's cool. It has some neat abilities, being able to tap down blockers, but then you're only going to get through with like 1 or 2 spirits, unless you expect to just have like 8 spirits. We don't have like spectral procession or something. So yeah, don't think it's going to do anything insane. Shipwreck Dowser. When it enters, return instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. I love that. That's cool for jank builds and fun stuff like that. Not good for constructed. 5 mana 3/3. No thank you. Spined Megalodon. 5 blue for 5/7 hexproof. When it attacks, scry 1. Limited. Stormwing Entity. 3 blue for 3/3. It costs 2 and a blue to less to cast if you've cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn. It has flying and prowess, and when it enters the battlefield, scry 2. Part of me kind of wants to call this the blue questing beast, which is too much text for it not to be good. It has to be in a proper deck though. But a turn 3, 2 mana 3/3 that scries 2 with flying and prowess is pretty disgusting. 3 mana 3/3 flying prowess would probably see some fringe play in like a super budget deck. But yeah, this would probably be the one rare I'd want to put in that budget deck I was talking about. You play Riddle Form on turn 2. You cast an Opter Shock, and then this on turn 3. Scry 2, boom, hit for 3 on the Riddle Form. Then you're off to the races, man. Disgusting. So Arclight Phoenix might want to see this. So you play with this, it has so many 1-mana spells. It's got Opt. It's got that adventure creature that loots, or rummages rather. You have plenty of 2-mana spells. You have Shock. It's... Oh, yeah. It doesn't line up. It can just get bounced with Teferi, which I guess scrying 2 when it enters again is something. But... Oof, man. Oof. This is such a good rate when it works. And against creature decks, that is such a beater. Like, if you're on turn 3, and your opponent's turn 2 mono red, they play a Runaway Steamkin, you shock their Steamkin and then play this. Like, what are they supposed to do? I guess they can Lightning Strike it, but like, oh, that's such a value. You already scried 2, then you can hit for like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 the next turn off of this. Disgusting, man. Absolutely disgusting. So guys, in sum, really cool. Decent in the art is amazing, by the way. Decent in the decks that want it. Just the same thing I saw with this card. Those decks aren't really good in the meta. But yeah, blue-red tempo or flash maybe could like that. Sublime Epiphany. Well, flash wouldn't because you have to tap out for it. Anyway, if it said flash, it'd be sick. Anyway, Sublime Epiphany. 4 blue for an instant. Counter target spell. Choose one or more. Counter target spell. Counter target activated or triggered ability. Return a permanent, non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. Target player draws a card. This card is disgusting. I love it. I think it's extremely powerful in a vacuum. And then I think it can't be playable until Mystical Dispute rotates. It's kind of how I feel. Maybe best of 1 when people are less likely to play Mystical Dispute main. But my gosh, dude. You're effectively, if you're playing in the right deck, you're going to get at least 3, probably 4 of these. So I see it as one of these 2 modes, and then the other 3 every time. Because, like, imagine... I don't know, like, if your opponent's a top deck mode and you have this in hand, like, what are they going to do, right? Right? Like, you have an Uro out or something, and they just have, like, 3 creatures, and they're just waiting to attack. They play an Embercleave. Right? They go to attack, so they play an Embercleave. You cast this. You counter the Embercleave. You bounce one of their attacking creatures to their hand. You copy your Uro, gain 3 life, draw a card, and then you draw a card. And then your Uro blocks one of their dudes who they thought was going to swing in for the win. That's kind of an ideal scenario, but it comes up quite a bit. There's plenty of stalemates where you can't attack with your Uro, and they're just waiting to get a big enough battlefield to alpha you out of the game. But like, my gosh, dude. Or like, what if, like, you can get enough mana with Nissa to cast this pretty easily too in like a blue-green deck. I don't know, you could even just copy one of your lands, bounce one of their dudes, bounce a planeswalker, draw a card. Like, oh, this is so much value. If they play a Krasis, You get to counter the Crisis, counter the activated ability from casting the Crisis, bounce their Nissa, create a copy of your, I don't know, if we're in a magical dreamland, your Dream Trawler, and then you draw a card. Like what? Or I don't know, your Knight of Autumn and you kill their ECD. Or I don't know, let's say you're at 6 mana against the Gen Food deck because they don't kill you super quick. You can counter their Bolas's Citadel or their Corvold. You can bounce their Mayhem Devil. You can create a copy of your what's the sideboard card you play against them? A copy of your, well, I'll just say Uro. Copy of your Uro again, and you draw a card. That seems like a real scenario that comes up. I don't know. This is just too powerful. Because it's too powerful to not see play. At least as like a 1 or a 2 of to me, personally. It just does so many things, and I'm excited to try to make it work. Also, the art. Can we just acknowledge the art too? Beautiful, beautiful. But yeah, with flash text being a thing and Teferi being a thing, a 6 mana instant spell is kind of rough. I guess the least you would get for it if they have a Teferi out is bounce their Teferi and draw a card. That's terrible for 6 mana. If you have a creature, you can copy it. That's the thing. It looks almost more like a mid-range deck than like a control deck thing. But like, what mid-range deck plays out all its threats and then just holds up one 6 mana counterspell? I guess the one I'm going to make. Honestly, Elementals. Because Elementals ramp. It has a couple really powerful creatures that you want to copy. Like Risen Reef and the green Cavalier Thorns. Or, you know, Omnath, just to get another trigger. Or Yarak, just to get multiple triggers. And then sacrifice them. And it ramps you up to 6 pretty quick, so maybe that's the home for it. I don't know. But I could totally see 1 or 2 of this in a control deck that I'm playing. You'd have to want more creatures. I guess against an aggro deck, even if you're just like copying like a Birtham Elitist wall, that's a thing. That's totally a thing. Copying a Brazen Borrower, that seems a little more likely. What other creatures would they be playing? It's mainly just that and Uro. 1 sideboard Dream Trawler, which is pretty good. But the decks you want Dream Trawler to come in for, do you really want Sublime Epiphany? If they're mid-range, yeah. But not against like an aggro deck. I will play at least 1 or 2 of these in a non-zero number of decks. Let me put it that way. But yeah, Teferi, when Teferi rotates out, I'll be way more excited for this card. I just hate Teferi so much. Speaking of which, Teferi, Master of Time. Man, that's awkward. What do you... Let's go down so the whole row can be him. Why are there so many? Are they any different? Just slightly different colored time travel stuff? Anyway, 2 blue for 3/3 Legendary Planeswalker Teferi. He has a passive ability. You may activate loyalty abilities to Teferi, Master of Time, on any player's turn anytime you can cast an instant. +1 draw a card, then discard a card. You can -3 target creature you don't control phases out, which is a really weird effect they haven't done in forever. But think of it as blinking, but there's no enter the battlefield trigger. And it doesn't, well, yeah, it technically never leaves the battlefield. It's exiled, and it comes back, but it never leaves the battlefield. Think of it that way, because it doesn't have summoning sickness, so it doesn't need haste. It doesn't trigger ETB triggers, which is weird. It doesn't recognize itself leaving the battlefield. So odd. That's -10 to take 2 extra turns after this one. And I think people are like, oh, it's kind of medium. I think this is like phenomenal. Phenomenal. Okay, because you play it, you plus it, you loot, right? It's not card advantage, but it's card selection. And then on their turn, you can loot up to 5 loyalty. So you're racing up to that -10. But, like, let's say you have a blocker, right? They have like 3 creatures. If you had to activate him on your turn, let's say he starts on 4 loyalty and you had to activate him only on your turn, right? Then you would just play him, and then you have to either loot, and then they know to attack him with everyone, and then he dies. Or you would have to minus, and then they would just know they only need to attack him with the other 2, and he dies. Whereas in this one, like let's say you have a, I don't know, you have a negate in hand. I know this is broad strokes, but you could wait until they play something on their turn. If you have a negate and an essence scatter in your deck, right? You're trying to find one. You wait until they cast something to know which one you need to keep while looting. It's just like a small thing that adds up, right? If they have 3 creatures and you have none, and let's say they're all 1/1s and he'd be left on 2 loyalty, we'll say, I guess. Normally, if you -2 on your turn, they can just attack with the 2 1/1s, hit you with the 3/3. Now, they attack him with all 3, and then you can either just plus if the dude's not big, if the one big creature's not big enough, or minus that 1 3/3. And oh man, I'm not explaining that properly. But you know what I mean. The way they attack has to be more thought out, and you can interact with it instant speed. If they have 1 creature that triggers when it hits face, and they're not sure if they want to kill Teferi or not. If they attack Teferi, you can just plus. Or okay, here's an example. Here's an example. Let's say he's on 4 loyalty, and they have Sea Dasher Octopus, which I'm pretty sure only triggers when you deal damage to a player, not a planeswalker. Okay, now I have to double check. Sea Dasher Octopus. Yep, okay, sweet. So, this is the example I'm thinking of. They have Sea Dasher Octopus. If you were to do this on only your turn and not instant speed, you'd have to phase them out on your turn and then pass with like 1 loyalty up. But since you can do this, you can plus it up to 4 loyalty. Now they can attack. If they attack you, you phase it out. If they attack Teferi, then you just loot. So it basically accomplishes the same thing. You just get higher loyalty ending when it attacks Teferi, because they're probably going to. They can't just attack you. You end up with higher loyalty and more card selection. Just little things like that. It's a bunch of little things like that that just add up. And just being able to double loot will be so good for fueling Uros or graveyard-based decks, Titan's Nest decks, I don't know, weird things like that. It's just, the format loves playing out of the graveyard. There's so many things that trigger based on if you draw an extra card. It kind of helps you play around Narset, because you can draw a card on your opponent's turn. It's got so many small things like that going for it that I don't think people are ready to properly gauge how good this card is, because they're not used to having Planeswalker abilities trigger on opponent's turns. And at instant speed. The -3 being at instant speed also then allows you to sometimes get a full card out of the deal. If they play like an Embercleave and target something, I mean that's huge tempo, it's not a card. If they play an enchantment spell targeting something, you phase it out. If they play a pump spell targeting something, you can phase it out. Planeswalker abilities that pump pump a creature, they phase it out. It's got a lot more going on to it than you would think, and I am really high on this card actually. I don't think it's going to replace, you know, Narset or Teferi right now, but rotation and other Fringe decks, I think it'll be very, very playable. I really like what they did with this one. Teferi's Ageless Insight, 2 blue for legendary enchantment. If you would draw a card, except the first one you draw on each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. So all you need to do is untap this like 1 time and you definitely get your mileage out of it. Or if you just play Teferi turn 4, this turn 5, and then loot. And then loot again. Like, that's a really disgusting curve right there. I mean, he has to survive and all, but whatever. He's effectively 5 loyalty if you interact with on turns 2 and 3. I feel like you can get there. But this with any sort of looters gets disgusting, man. Think about it. You play Teferi, you play this, you draw 2 cards, discard 1. Then on their turn, draw 2 cards, discard 1. That's pretty messed up. Pretty much made your own super sift. If you have anything like Teferi 3, you play Teferi 3 plus, they don't get the loyalty low enough. You play this and then bounce their opposing thing, draw 2 cards. That's pretty messed up. Also, sorry if you can hear my cat scratching his litter box behind me. Don't know how he's so loud with it. But yeah, one downside is that it's legendary. Although I wouldn't want to see myself playing more than like 1 or 2 of this anyway, because it is such a do nothing. And to be honest, I don't think it's better than any of the stuff we have going on standard right now. But my gosh, it'll be hilarious to go off with it. So I think it's like tier 2 control finisher stuff. But yeah, super powerful. Who knows? Maybe Wilderness Wreck, because then you can play this, untap all your stuff, and cast an opt and draw 2 cards. Seems pretty good to me. Sorry, my cat. Sweet. So, Teferi's Protege, 2 and a blue for 2/3. Loot, no. Teferi's Tutelage, 2 and a blue. For an enchantment, when it enters the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent mills 2 cards. The most powerful part of this card is the keyworded mill. That's pretty neat. I'm fine with that. Yeah, this will win some games. For sure. For sure. There's decks that already, like, accidentally mill themselves out, like Bant. That comes out to milling all the time. This can totally see play in a mill type deck. We have Idyllic Tutor as well, if you really want like 8 copies of it, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I don't think it'll be tier 1, but tier 2 fun for sure, which is the best tier ever. Tier fun. There we go. That's what we'll call it. Tier fun. Those are the most important cards. Not quite as good. Sphinx's Tutelage was a card you guys may remember. That was in Magic Duels, and I have nightmares of that card because I love to play mid-range decks, and it was a best of 1 the entire game. So there was a whole lot of it was hard to main deck enchantment removal, and a lot of the decks I love to play are cards that dirtle around and draw a ton of cards. And this stupid Sphinx's Tutelage card, which is the same thing here, where it's like whenever you draw a card, your opponent discards loots or mills 2, and then you could pay like 6 to loot or something with it, and it would just mill me out every time, and I would never ever beat that deck, and it was brutal. So that's where I can have some PTSD from this card. Teferi's Wavecaster, that's from the dual decks, Tide Scammer, nope. Tellurian Kraken, I'm sure this will assemble some combo somewhere. When you pay 1, whenever you do, you may tap or untap target creature. So you need a card that can pay mana, let's say 2 mana, 1 that you can pay 1 to draw with, and then this can untap. I'm pretty sure I saw Dev, SBMTG already line up a combo from this. Don't think it was standard, a standard playable combo. But yeah, you just need something that taps for extra mana, something that, a creature that taps for extra mana that you can untap, something that then you can sink mana into to draw a card, and then if you can net even or positive, you can either just draw your whole deck or draw your whole deck and get semi-infinite mana. So yeah, interesting. Not standard playable though. Tome Anima, 3 and a blue for 3/3. Can be blocked as long as you draw 2 or more. Okay, nope. Unsubstantiate. We have such good counter magic, I don't seem like really needing this. If it was non-land permanent instead of creature, yes. But we already have Aether Gust, which does so much more to actually trade for a card because it takes their draw step. Whereas this puts you down a card. But I don't know. In newer metas, I could totally see this. Like if you don't know what's coming up, this could be a more flexible option for you to have. So that you can either put a spell back in their hand or bounce a creature after it's resolved if you need to tap out, you know? But again, don't see it taking the place of any spells we have right now. Arcanist, limited. Waker of Waves. 5 blue for a 7/7 whale. Creatures your opponents control get -1/-0. You pay 1 in blue, discard Waker of Waves, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand and the other into your graveyard. So pretty cool as a reanimator target. It puts itself in the yard and gives you like a sleight of hand thing going on. Also, your opponent's creatures gain -1/-0 will really help to stabilize the battlefield if they're an aggressive deck. So yeah, I think I could totally see this as like an option for more controlling type decks. Not controlling, reanimator type decks. Kind of a fun, cheap one. Like I said, the Whale, Leviathan, Kraken deck might be coming together, man. They just need a couple cards in there that cost less than 6. And then maybe it can do some things. But no, I really like this card just because it helps put itself in the yard while also finding the things that will get it out of the yard, and then has a neat little payoff for coming to the battlefield. Definitely not standard playable though. Tier 2.5. Tier fun. Wall the Runes, it's made it to a top 8 before. Good sideboard card against aggro decks. Wishcoin Crab, no. And boom, there's the blue cards, guys. I know I said I was going to do the Wooburg, so the first 3 cards and do it into 2 parts, but this was taking way longer than I expected. I just have more to say than I think, than I thought I would. So we'll do, so this is W blue, white, blue, Wooberg, black, red. We'll do black, red tomorrow and then finish up with green, colorless, multicolored the next day. So we're going to do an extra upload Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because I'm pretty sure, the set's going to come out that Friday, right? Let's see. Thursday. So that comes out Thursday. So the streamer event's Wednesday. So yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday uploads for you guys. Extra upload. Hope you enjoy. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sure there's plenty of things I missed and that you guys probably disagree with because you are well-reasoned, informed people, unlike myself. And yeah, hope you guys appreciate the, didn't realize this would be that long. So an extra like 6 hours of content for you. Hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you in the next video. Have an excellent day.